to the Builders Coach Show. I'm Kurt Heggetweiler and I'm here with Jess.
Hi, welcome back, everyone. So, Kurt, tell us, how's your week been?
Massive week, as usual. Lots to talk about. I want to start off by congratulating Jai and Mel Fisher from 38 Build on winning the best custom kitchen and also a finalist for their custom home as well. It's always fascinating how many Builders Coach clients tend to walk away with these awards, right? High standards in one area means high standards in all areas. And they just raining in those awards left, right, and center all over the country, all over the globe. I absolutely love it.
Yeah, congratulations, guys. So, Kurt, I think you've got some news about the 53%.
Yes, price shock's been a big topic of conversation lately. A lot of our guys are getting out there talking about price shock, bringing it up first with clients and architects and any other stakeholders as well. It's a real thing, right? Inflation, 53% in 3 years here in Australia is what we saw as, third-party empirical evidence from an article that was on a significant site, like a real estate site.
Mm-hmm.
And guys have been sending out that article on day one to clients, just pointing to it. Don't shoot the messenger. Here's the reality of the situation. And one of our clients did a post on social media on Meta about that 53% price hike over the 3-year period. And they said, don't give up on your dreams. Yes, prices have gone up, but don't give up on that dream home. They got more than 8,000 views for that post.
Wow.
And 35 likes only. So the ratio from views to likes, that's fascinating with social media, whether it's Instagram, Facebook, or any other site. What I've heard is, and I don't know what your take on this is, for every like or view that you get, there's another 10 that you don't know about, right?
Mm.
And I don't know if that's like views or impressions. You get impressions as well with your marketing. What's your take on that?
Yeah, look, I think the algorithm of social media is ever changing. So it's hard to know. You've got some videos that go viral and they only have less than 10% likes. They usually say that 10% views to likes is a good ratio, but really there's always outliers and it seems to be changing so much. It's difficult to say if that's a good ratio or not. I've heard that the watch time of your short videos, whether it's, YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, it's really the watch time is actually the most important. And if people look at your videos from beginning to end, that has way more values and it actually bumps up your videos on social media, rather than comment and likes, etc. So it's really watch time, which is really important. So, 8,000 views, you say? That's amazing.
It is. Yeah, no, it's massive. It's interesting you mentioned YouTube because most guys would be on Meta, so Facebook and Instagram, but the number one medium for communication is video, right? So you see short videos, what do they call them? Reels on Instagram.
Yes.
And then shorts on YouTube and then videos on Facebook as well. But that's fascinating. Yeah, I have heard that. Like, the watching the video through all the way to the end, right? The watch time. That's as a metric is the thing that counts the most and contributes also towards the video going viral as well, right?
Yeah.
But like you say, those algorithms change all the time. Those social media companies, they're just trying to get us to live on there, right? Like Meta, right? The metaverse, they're trying to create somewhere where we go and spend most of our time. So I think this is just my opinion, right? Maybe a bit of a conspiracy theory, but I think they changed those algorithms so that we spend more time on their sites. Not to mention the AI and the fact that is so intelligent and knows you better than you know yourself. And it keeps giving you exactly what you like, whether it's golf, surfing, whatever it is, which is precisely why I stay off it. A lot of people think I'm on social media. I do not use social media at all outside of business. And even that component is largely outsourced, which is what I'd recommend you do, right? Outsource it to someone who can help. Maybe you create the content, shoot the videos, get someone to edit that, chop it up, create reels, and also long form content, and just put it out there, right?
Yeah, it is like a whole science to it, to be honest, and it keeps changing also. But not to despair. There's still if you got good content, you've got a niche market, which you would. There's still ways to use it.
Hopefully they've got a niche. If you haven't got a niche, you've got to specialize, right? Be a specialist, not a cardiologist. A specialist cardiac surgeon earns a lot more money, and you're more relevant. You get more market penetration and more cut through as well. But marketing, the holy grail, right? So important. So moving on to something completely different. So moving away from marketing, which marketing really gives you control because you can pick and choose your clients. If you overbook the flight, you've got more inquiry coming in than you can handle, provided you've got a good sales process. But there's a client I'm working with who has just been approved for a government grant. So No doubt some of you have done government work before. It's always good in terms of getting paid, not so good in terms of you controlling what happens, the margins, the contracts, anything else. But at least you know you're guaranteed to get paid. This guy went in. I don't want to give away, specific details for obvious reasons, but he's in a location where the local government, the state government, wants to issue grants to help with housing for a certain sector of the community. It's not lower socioeconomic or community housing as such. It's something else. Sometimes it's for nurses, doctors. It could be for community workers.
Yeah.
A different sector. So anyway, they wanted to offer a grant, and there's certain criteria. Now, whenever you're dealing with government, they're bureaucratic, there's red tape. And myself personally, I'm repulsed by that whole process, right? So that doesn't mean, if you are as well, that you shouldn't look at it or get involved, because in the same way that you can outsource your marketing to a marketing specialist who can, understand the algorithms and stay on top of it, you can get someone to do the government grant applications, which is exactly what this guy did. He did get involved to a certain extent, but following the buy back your time, Dan Martell method of getting involved for the first 10% and then 80% outsourced to someone else, and then get involved in that last 10%. So it's 10, 80, 10, right? Great process. Anyway, we looked at what he's being given. So he's been given $1.9 million by the government, which he does not have to pay back. He gets to keep it, but he has to build certain dwellings, and then those dwellings have to be, I believe, leased out to a certain sector of the community for a period of time. I think it's 5 years, but then that's his. So essentially, he's been given this $1.9 million, and we worked out how much time. I wanted to know hourly rate, right? Which is what I'm going to be covering off at our buyback at time management workshop soon. That's coming up in Sydney. We've got one in Melbourne as well. That's coming up. But we looked at how many hours he spent doing the submission, 320 hours. And we divided the 1.9 mil by that. And the result is $5,937.50 per hour, okay, for the submission. Which, look, with that sort of money, I might even consider doing it myself. No, actually, I wouldn't. I'd pay someone $1,000 an hour. I'll take 4,900, and then it's just too painful for me. I don't have the skill set. But it's a worthwhile exercise, looking at what are the tasks that generate what sort of return. That is a phenomenal return. And he's also, the grant's going to allow him to build these dwellings, and he's built in a margin of at least 20%, which is a 25 markup on those builds as well. So congratulations, you know who you are, but just wanted to share that. That's something a little different. It's out of the box. It's outside of his niche, but it's one of those opportunities which, if it aligns with your bigger goals and vision for the business, that, you want to take advantage of. This one worked out really well. We're going to talk about, I want to get to the reflection and review exercise. Why? Well, it's October already. We're going into the last quarter of the calendar year. And it's fascinating because we were talking off air about how quickly the last 12 weeks went.
Oh, unbelievable. I feel like we've had this conversation 2 weeks ago, basically.
You were saying exactly that. You were like, weren't we just talking about doing a reflection and review exercise just the other day? And then when we looked at it, because we did it 2 days ago, and we went through it, it was like, wow, there's 2 overseas trips in there, 4 birthdays.
4 birthdays.
2 significant birthdays, like an 18th and a 40th in there. Massive, right? So big birthdays. Big celebrations. There were weekends away. We had family come over from overseas as well. We had a lot going on.
No, and then professionally also, obviously, we've been quite busy.
Significant, yeah. Always a significant amount on then. So it's that time of year. I want to go rapid fire through those reflection and review questions. If you're new to this channel, make sure you subscribe, like and subscribe so you can stay up to date with all the latest episodes. But today's questions, as we go through them, are invaluable. They can literally change your life, because if you go through these questions and take them seriously, and by the way, we take this seriously because we know the impact it can have. So please do the same. Take it seriously. Answer the questions and then look at the answers, right? Look at the reality and the truth of your situation and what you've just been through in the last 12 weeks, or you can do it for the whole year. We'll talk a little bit about it in a sec. But the decisions you make off the back of that, what you decide to do from now, October through to Christmas lunch, could significantly change your 2025. So please do take it seriously. But before we get into that, a couple of other quick things I wanted to touch on. One of our guys, which we may have mentioned before, ran an information night. All right. So information on himself, a real estate agent, an architect, just talking about should you renovate or sell. I thought it was a fantastic topic. I would have been interested to attend something like that if I was looking to renovate or sell.
Mhm.
And he spoke about, as from a builder's perspective, what's involved in the pre-construction phase, what's so important in terms of the builder and the architect working together to ensure that the design matches the budget and, the costings and the programming of the job, all the things that can go wrong and all the things that can go well. And he just shared a couple of stories of exactly that. So people got a picture of how selecting the right builder and architect can really help them get the best possible outcome. And then, of course, the real estate agent spoke about the market conditions and what's going on there. People got plenty of value. And the builder did it as a way to lean into his fear of public speaking. So I'd challenge you to do that as well. And it's a way for you to contribute to the local community, education-based sales and marketing, generate some preliminary agreements, as well as lean in and, develop a new skill around public speaking. In saying that, it is something that if you're not used to doing, is going to take up a lot of bandwidth. So as in mental and emotional bandwidth, there's a bit of pressure when it comes to running in events and then getting on stage. But that's precisely why it's a good idea to do, because it creates a barrier to entry. Most guys are never, ever in their wildest dreams going to do something like that. So you get a lot of respect when you do it. And interesting fact, there's a direct correlation between vocabulary, right, and income. Have you heard that before?
Yeah, I've heard that before.
There's studies across every single sector. So even blue collar, policemen, firemen, professors, whatever it is, the higher the vocabulary, the higher the income.
Good.
I've also since heard or learned that the bigger your vocabulary, the faster you can think. And so since then, every time I come across a word I don't understand, I'm looking that up and I'm putting it in my vocabulary folder on my phone, trying to learn a new word every day. And I'm encouraging my kids, especially one of my nephews, to do the same. I think it's a powerful thing. Just a side note, right? We digress. We want to get into the reflection review questions. A couple of other things, though. Succession planning. So I had a couple of conversations. It's interesting how the similar or same conversations come up all the time. Price shock and dealing with value management, bringing that up in the pre-construction phase and ejecting from the tender process has been a big topic of conversation. But succession planning has come with a few of our clients. And a lot of the time, motivation and drive starts to wane, especially at the back end of the career. So people in their 50s, especially if you've got some money, you've built up some real estate, you've done some developments, and now it's just a grind. And what am I doing this for? Do I want to keep doing it? Succession can serve as something that provides a lot of purpose and meaning. I've had two examples in particular and succession doesn't have to be with family members. In these two instances that I'm thinking of, there is a family member, a son who's involved. The parents own the building company. The son's a carpenter. He's going to come in. And they're really motivated and driven, in one instance, to set the business up well, to have a fully functioning operations manual, just from first inquiry all the way through to after handover and maintenance. Just having processes, job descriptions, KPIs, and then being able to hand that system, business, brand, goodwill over to their son, and then he can continue to drive the business. Mm-hmm. And from my experience, second generation businesses are the most successful. So that's given them a real push. They can get that done within 3 years, easy. So now they've got a timeline, which is one of the most powerful things you can do from a time management perspective, right? Set yourself a timeline for when you're going to get this done, and then hand it over. Mm-hmm. And the beautiful thing is they definitely, in a position to go in the 7-figure club. So if they can get to a point where they're netting $1 million, they've got a development arm as well, then they don't have to step right out and go into retirement because, let's face it, retirement would just be hell. What are you going to do with yourself? They could reduce their hours significantly to 10 or 20 hours a week, mm-hmm. and then maybe just focus on the non-client work or the developments and have fun with that and start Airbnb-ing them or get involved in a little side business somewhere. Mm-hmm. So it's something worthwhile, something to think about. If you're interested in setting your business up for succession, instead of just closing doors and walking away, make sure you get in touch with us. info@builderscoach.com.au. We specialize in helping people set up best practice processes to optimize profit, workflow, cash flow. That's great for succession. But also if you can't execute on your succession plan while you could sell the business, right? And if you're making that sort of profit, ka-ching. Before we get into the reflection and review questions, which I want you to take very seriously, please. Trade agreements, right?
Yes.
With employees, you have job descriptions and KPIs. And we spoke about the recruitment process and building a strong team on pod 12. And then pod 13 as well, we went into job descriptions and how they give your employees direction, focus, and also systems and processes to ensure that they excel in their role. And in fairness to them, you've got to have that. Now, you can't necessarily do that with your subcontractors because they'll tell you where to go, right? What you can do is have trade agreements, which just outlines a similar thing. Expectations in terms of, what you expect standards-wise when they execute on the work, but also just values, how they behave on site, making sure they clean up after lunch. There's actually a great sign that one of our guys created called Don't Be a Grubby Subby. A grubby subby, and it's got a list. We'll put it up on the screen so you guys can see exactly what we're talking about. But one of our guys in regional New South Wales, he decided to create some trade agreements and he named them after the subcontractors. So one of them was, I'll just use any name, like the Anderson Accord, which was for making sure that they clean up after lunch. And, the guy's surname was the subcontractor. That's the messy guy. That's the grubby subby. He's got to recognize it. I thought that was funny, just naming each of these different things after the guys that are most responsible. And it's a bit of a tongue-in-cheek, right? Just having a bit of fun with it.
Yeah, and it's fun, and it kind of goes with your code of conduct, right? How to get a message through while still
keeping it lighthearted, having some fun.
Exactly. Yeah, why not?
It's like giving your friend a dead leg. You know what I mean? Bang. Like, okay.
Yeah. But it's really important, as we say, just like having a job description for your employees is really important and gives them a clear view and understanding of what they need to do and how it needs to be done. Trade agreements are just equally the same, but for your subbies, basically.
Exactly right. And with your employees, you have performance reviews every 12 weeks, just going through the KPIs. And that's almost like a form of training. You're just bringing them back to the same KPIs. And then here's where you're doing well. Here's where you need to improve. There's the same with your trade agreements. You get them to sign it at the start of every single job. So even if they've worked for you for 20 years and they've worked on the same type of jobs for 20 years, they've got to go through the same trade agreement, sign it, agree to it. And that way it gets engraved in their memory. And that's how you sort of program them to consistently play at a certain level.
Yeah. Cool.
Yeah, no, it's fascinating. Last point on that, the best trades. So you guys listening, you're probably proactive with your business development. You wouldn't be listening to this podcast, but the trades are what I've found is subcontractors that are proactive with their business development because there's business coaches that work in the subcontractor space.
Yeah.
Those guys respect and appreciate trade agreements the most because they love the fact that you organized as a builder. So the number one thing for a subcontractor when it comes to builders and their relationship with builders is, what do you reckon? Getting paid, right? By far and away. I've been in a room with them. And then secondly would be having an organized builder. So imagine how they get dicked around by guys that aren't organized, that don't have proper programming. So if you're organized, you've got structure, process, you're professional, they love it and appreciate it. If they don't, that's selling you something else. That would be a red flag if they don't mind.
Definitely.
All right.
Okay, let's get into a reflection and review.
Yes, let's do it. Okay, now let's be honest, a little bit vulnerable and honest. Like when we did ours 2 days ago, right? We didn't. No, check the fear in your eyes when I said, "Hey, let's be a little vulnerable and honest." So
we're not doing ours live.
Yeah, we're not gonna reveal
airing all
our dirty. Yeah, we're not gonna air our dirty laundry and just go through the massive fight that we had. But no, we didn't. We didn't do that. But it was not something we both felt like doing in the moment, right? And it's like there's never a good time to do these things. Like you're busy, you're running a business, you've got kids, there's things going on. We've got travel plans coming up. There's so much we need to organize. Now we're going to sit down, we're going to reflect and review the last 3 months. But the thing that happened, and it happens every single time, and this is why I want you to take this seriously and do this exercise with us. If you can't do it now, come back later and then listen to the recording and do it. But if you just do the exercise, you will be pleasantly surprised. And I know that because our brains naturally tend to focus on the negative stuff more than the positive, right? So we went through, there were 25 positive things I counted, and at least 6 or 7 that I had forgotten about. Not completely forgotten, but was like, oh yeah, remember that, right? So it brings those to the fore, but it also has some uncomfortable truths in there as well, which is so important from a leadership perspective to look at. You've got to look at the reality of the situation and, where can you improve and change? And it's just about course correcting, right? You're not going to get things right all the time. If you're getting things right 70% of the time, you're doing exceptionally well. When things don't turn out as planned, don't get hung up on the outcome.
Mm-hmm.
Just look at, what needs to change and improve. Take the lesson. What do you learn?
Don't brush it off. Just take the lesson and,
Yes.
move on.
Okay, so we're not going to go through this. I'm going to go through as quickly as possible. Right? We're not going to dwell on every question. I'm going to rapid fire through them. If you're watching obviously you're watching the recording, you can pause, write down your answers if you want, and then go through them that way. So the first question is top 3 wins for the period.
Mm-hmm.
So ideally, you're looking back at the last 3 months. If you've never done this exercise before, look back on the whole year and ask yourself, what are the top 3 wins that you had for the period? Next question. And by the way, when we're doing that top 3 wins, that's when we listed out, like you brainstorm it, so we're like 25.
Yeah.
And then you highlight the top 3.
And for the top.
Yeah, so just go broad, then narrow.
And then maybe also we mix business and personal.
Yes.
Also.
You don't have to do it that way. I think it just comes naturally to do it that way, because the way I do it is I look through my calendar. I also capture my top 3 wins each day.
Mm-hmm.
So I'll just go through that or rapid fire through that. And there's business and personal mixed up in those 3 wins. So it's just about extracting the goal, looking at it, selecting the top 3. Second one is biggest positive for the period. So that's an easy one off the back of that. What is the biggest positive? Sometimes it's glaringly obvious, like there's a major win that happened. Other times you need to sort of, decide what it is.
Yeah.
But it's really, again, narrowing it down. Biggest negative for the period, it's often like the most painful thing. But then within that, there'll be a lesson. And that's the next question. What are your lessons from the above? From the biggest positive and the biggest negative, what did you learn?
For number 4, what did you learn?
Before we go to number 4, that can be a little bit of a challenge, right? Like when you've got a negative, to look for the lesson. Because if it doesn't feel uncomfortable, it's probably not the biggest negative. There needs to be something uncomfortable. And then when you're looking at it going, what did I learn? There's natural inclination to move away from it. You got to stay in it and go, okay, what was the lesson? And there is always one, right? Not always on the surface and easy to see. Number 5 is innovation. So what new technology and systems? And man, that's like every time we do it, there's more. Right? Especially with AI and those sorts of things.
Yeah, even if it's small things, right? You're starting to using a new app or, tweaking something else, a tool that you didn't used to do. Yeah.
ChatGPT is a big one, right? Just with marketing, responding to emails. I've sent a couple of emails to real estate agents recently where I got ChatGPT to respond. I said, here's what I want. Go with the criteria, the parameters, bang.
Yeah.
I read it. I tweaked it a little. 10, 90, 10 with ChatGPT. Do the first 10, which is prompt. Tell it what you want it to write. It writes it, then spend the last 10% just tweaking it.
Yeah.
Because it doesn't get things right all the time. But that's a big one. People using ChatGPT for marketing. Otter for transcribing is a massive one as well. That is unbelievable. Just, recording coaching calls. It gives you a brief. It gives you action items. It's unbelievable. You've used it by uploading like videos into it as well.
Yeah, uploading videos and getting a summary of it. Yeah, quite good.
And then there's other obvious ones, which maybe you've used before but stopped using. Voice memo. I use voice memo a lot. And that's like invaluable. Like sending voice memos instead of typing a 20-minute email. I still get so much value from that. Number 6, what new skills and knowledge do you need to develop? What's the one thing if you learned it would most benefit your business now? Maybe it's marketing, maybe it's Insta, maybe it's people management, maybe it's finance, maybe it's property development. Identify what it is and then book in to a webinar, seminar, a one-day workshop, buy a book, whatever it is. Get into it. There's plenty of information out there. And then profit wheel. Number 7, big, hairy, audacious goal. Number 7 is big, hairy, audacious goal or BHAG. So what is the goal that you're going to set before the end of the year that's going to give you sweaty palms? All right. It needs to give you sweaty palms, make you nervous. Next, profit wheel review. So I'll just run through the different areas of the profit wheel. And there's 10 basically. So strategy, which is the direction that you're going to take your business in. What is your strategy for the business? Are you a renovation or remodeling specialist? Are you a custom home building specialist? Is it on sloping blocks? Is it Hampton home style builds? Is it passive house? Decide on your area of specialty. Again, be that cardiologist. And then what is your strategies? That's your overall strategy, but then what's your strategy for your marketing, for generating consistent flow of quality inquiries? Your strategy for building up capital, working capital, retained earnings should be at least 2% of each progress payment. Remember that you set aside one-way valve into a separate bank account and allow that to accumulate over your career, and then increase those amounts incrementally as you increase your margin and your revenue. Sales. What's your sales process? Do you have one? Is it a consistent process you take everyone through? Are you charging for quotes and using prelims? Your delivery. So ideally, you want to score yourself on these. And that's what we do, right? 0 to 10, 0 is pathetic, 10 is perfection. Job delivery is what delivery is: on time, to budget, to standard. How often is that happening? Your administration, what does that look like? Your flow of information. It used to be paper flow, not anymore, right? It's just flow of information. Finance, profit, cash flow, and then financial controls. Do you have accurate financial controls? Cash flow forecasting. Do you know your break-even point, gross margin, job codes, cost codes? Can you generate a P&L on a job after a job to see if you held the margin that you put in at the front end? And systems is the next one. What are your systems like? And that covers every aspect of the business. Your sales process is a system. Your marketing is a system, right? So if you take yourself out of your business, what's left? Then give yourself a score there. Your team, if you fired everyone today, how many would you re-employ tomorrow morning? So that's how you would assess the quality of your team. And then that's closely related to your leadership. So that's you and your leadership team. You know, do you have clear, decisive leadership? Do you have people that are prepared to follow you? So rate yourself in your leadership. Yeah.
So those are the 10 profit wheel categories. Mm-hmm. So rate yourself 1 to 10 or 0 to 10 for each one of those. And obviously compare it to the previous period, etc.
Exactly. And people love that. That profit wheel, we have guys that got that on their wall. They go through it every 3 months or even sooner. But if you do that 4 times a year and you're always looking to improve, and then you put in that in your next 12-week plan, it's the inevitability theory. You will inevitably get better. Even if it's small increments, eventually over time, you will break through and achieve success.
Number 9.
Beliefs. What beliefs need to change? What do you believe right now that is holding you back? All right. Maybe it's your self-image. Maybe you got this negative belief around yourself as a leader. Maybe it's a belief around your ability to manage people, marketing, finance. Money comes up a bit for people where, you know, maybe your parents had a negative view of money. Money's the root of all evil, and money doesn't grow on trees. And that's just your conditioning. So if you make money, you find a way to sabotage. And so if you know that that's a problem for you, you got to sort that out, right? Affirmations, visualization. You can even go into hypnotherapy or whatever it is, but you will never outperform your self-image. In the same way, you'll never outperform your leadership. If you have a low or small self-image around something, it could be around how you play golf or around money, you will never be able to expand. Or time management's a big one as well. I've been talking about that at our time management event. You've got to see yourself as better than you are whilst you do the things to improve.
Number 10.
What are you tolerating? What are you tolerating from yourself and others? So no doubt there's people in your life that are stealing time and energy from you. Did you say that to me today, that I was stealing time? I think I was talking too much. So I think it could have been that.
It definitely was that.
You got to cut people out that do that, right? And you had no problem saying, hey, listen, I've got some things to do. And I think you're just talking too much about this one thing that we've already dealt with, right?
Yeah.
So what are you tolerating? Make sure, so from yourself, maybe you're doing some low skill, low fun tasks, like driving to the hardware store and doing something that one of your apprentices or a laborer could do. And maybe you're doing some tasks that you don't like and it's sucking the energy out of you, right? So why do that? Rather put someone else in there. In fact, anything you're doing that you could pay someone $50 an hour or less to do, you should not be doing. That's a rule of thumb right there. I don't want to talk too much, but I do need to mention tolerating could also be mindset related. So tolerating a negative mindset, beating yourself up, don't tolerate that. I use mindfulness practices, whatever it is, to get yourself focused on something more positive. Number 11, where do you need to 10x your activity? 10 times the effort where? Maybe it's marketing. If you don't have enough inquiry, it's your marketing. Maybe your marketing's fine, but there's another area like your finance, your financial controls. It's all hazy. You haven't figured it out. Whatever it is for you, look at the profit wheel. It should be glaringly obvious, the area that you need to 10x activity on.
Number 12, new habits for success.
New habits. What new habits do you need to develop? All right. Great book by
James Clear.
What's it called?
Atomic Habits.
Atomic Habits. Get onto that. It's phenomenal. We're not going to go into it now. We're running out of time, but that's a great one to develop right habits in life. Like I'll share a quote from the book. You don't rise to the level of your goals. You fall to the level of your systems, and that includes your habits, right? Morning routine. I'd live and die on a morning routine. It's amazing. It gets me going and then builds up momentum. Can't recommend exercise enough. In fact, peak performers require exercise.
Number 13 is one we added, I think, last time. It was about what is your top sliding door moment for the period.
Yes. Where were you at a crossroads and you turned left instead of right? And maybe it was like you were at the coffee shop and you were like, oh, I'm going to have that donut. Should I buy the donut? And you were like, no, I'm not going to buy the donuts. And then because you did that, you felt good about yourself because you exercised some discipline, and then you didn't have, the beers that night and then the cake the next day, and then it set you off on that different trajectory, right? Maybe a little thing like that, or maybe it's a much bigger one. You were going to go into business with someone and you were like, hold on, let me just do some due diligence. And then you were like, no, I'm not going to do that because it doesn't really align with where I'm going. And you dodged the bullet. Could be a toxic client, sliding door moment. Yeah. And then the last one is, what's your donkey on the bridge? Which is...
I like that one.
Donkey on the bridge, if you don't know what that is, it's from the movie Patton, where during the Second World War, they were moving through an area and they got held up. There was a donkey on a bridge that was holding everyone up. Patton got out, pulled out his revolver, shot the donkey in the head, pushed it off the bridge, said, let's keep going. And it's a little bit of a graphic, harsh story.
Basically, what's your bottleneck? What is keeping you from getting to the next step, getting over that bridge?
It could be an employee that's there that shouldn't be there. It could be,
could be your own mindset.
It could be you. You could be the donkey on the bridge. Yeah. So get rid of that donkey. Make a decision. What's the one thing that's holding you back from moving forward to where you want to go? All right, guys, we're about to wrap up. Before we do, Friday, the 18th of October, here in beautiful Manly, do join us. This is a new event. We've never done anything like this before. It's all about time management. If you feel like you don't have enough time in the day, in the week, in the month, you've got to join us.
We'll put the link to the event in the show notes so you can grab them from there, or otherwise it's on your Instagram and Facebook account. So, yes.
Have a fantastic week. We'll see you soon.
Bye.